you're a Pats guy. I assume that I mean, I don't know how many TVs you operate with on Sunday. Two more, one, two,
multiple, two, yeah.
Yeah, two. Yeah, you're right. You have
two,
two
and then
TVs.
but I can use my laptop and stuff. So it's
yeah. But I mean, the point being is like you probably have, because you live in Boston, a screen with the Pats game on.
Yes, that is true.
So I mean,
there's a dedicated screen to that.
Correct, which is probably awesome for the last 23 years. A little less awesome now.
Yeah, not so
you
much
feel
recently.
a little more like a Panthers fan now.
Yeah.
I the Panthers are the local team. Like I was watching the Eagles-Steelers game, but I always have I have an HD antenna, and so I always keep one of that on on a local game because you're ahead. Anyway, yada yada yada. Point being is you saw a lot of Zack Wilson yesterday. You saw a lot of bad quarterbacking from second-year quarterbacks in Pat's Jets. But let's start with Zack Wilson, and I'm just curious, like Ryan Wilson and John Breach were suggesting on Sunday evening that Zack Wilson won't make it to like week 10. Now, since this is press coverage, let's read some headlines from around the world. The Jets and Zack Wilson are on different timelines by Brian Costello. That seems polite. Here's an NFL.com one from Judy Batista, who I believe was there. Zack Wilson's meltdown versus Patriots raises questions about long-term future as Jets franchise quarterback. That was a little less nice. Is this a you? This is Chris Trapasso 2 hours ago on CBSSports.com, getting the full John Breach treatment in his headline. Zack Wilson is having significant issues in one area of his game and is holding back his upstart team. I'm going to read what this one area is. Of those, like where do you, based on what you saw from Zack Wilson on Sunday afternoon against New England, like where do you sort of fall on the, what do the Jets do with Zack Wilson? How much stock do we put in a loss, against Bill Belichick and the Patriots, who has dominated the Jets for the last 50,000 years?
Yeah, I guess you could put, some stock into Belichick having the number or whatever, and, just a good defensive effort. But I don't even know if it was really a great defensive effort. He was gifting interceptions to the Patriots secondary. It's not like there was, just to put your hand up, that's a great play by the defensive back or something along those lines, or a tip pass at the line, and just fluky things happen in their interceptions. He was throwing it directly into coverage or lack thereof coverage. So for me, what's concerning is that it seemed like he was having more issues when he was on the move and mobile. And you would think that would kind of be his bread and butter. I kind of felt like that was his thing at BYU. I just remember even in the pre-draft evaluations, like the highlight play was him making a rollout throw. Like it felt like 70 yards down the field. And that was what was kind of getting everybody popping. And you just really haven't seen that in the NFL level. And there really hasn't been that many explosive plays. I kind of agree with the headline that was saying that they're on different timelines, because New York is good. They have a good roster. They are a good football team. What lost them that game was Zack Wilson. They are a competitive team if all of a sudden he's just a standard run-of-the-mill quarterback.
So interestingly, I did actually dive in quickly into Traps' story, and this is kind of, I guess the headline is good because it got me to read it, but but damn it, why do I don't blame Traps, I'm blaming the editors. I don't mind throwing it under the bus, clearly. I'm reading from Traps' story. Currently, Wilson is the worst quarterback in football when pressured, and it's not close. He's completed 19.4% of his throws when pressured, and a staggeringly low 3.0 yards per attempt clip with 1 touchdown and 5 interceptions. Altogether, Wilson's passer rating under pressure is 7.1. Yes, 7.1. And he goes on to note, the things that he does poorly when he's, there you go, look at that. When he is pressured. And then now this is what may be tying in directly to what you're saying about him on the move. Wilson likely knows, I'm still reading from Traps, of course. Wilson likely knows of his under pressure struggles, and that awareness has led to him even vacating clean pockets, traditionally a gigantic no-no at the quarterback spot. In other words, what may be happening with Wilson here, when he looks lost on the move, is he is petrified of pressure right now, seeing ghosts, perhaps even, and that would, that sort of all adds up. And where it's like, if you're Belichick, and you know that you can. You don't have to be a good defense, but you know that you can. I mean, like he did this to Darnold too. Like you're dialing up stuff. This is why he's 30-6 against second-year quarterbacks or first and second-year quarterbacks. You can just he is able to diagnose certain whatever traits, whatever things bother him. You mask some stuff on the back end and you send some pressure, and all of a sudden you have Zack Wilson in a really bad spot. My thing though is that like this Jets team is, even if they're good, I think they're pretty good. I don't think they're like, I mean, I don't think they are as good as their record is.
No, not by any stretch of the imagination.
Right. So like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I don't understand the idea that you would bench Zack Wilson. Like Ryan Wilson was saying, like, do it for Mike White.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think you have to take, with the New York Jets, a big picture view of the organization. I don't think that this is a team. I mean, I guess you could sneak into the playoffs. Like, I guess, just, I guess anything could happen, but this is not a team that you are. I mean, we're, almost 24 hours away from the trade deadline when we're recording this podcast. This is not a team that
you're not shopping.
You're not investing too much. Yeah, I guess you went for James Robinson, but ultimately, you're not breaking the bank to try to improve this team so dramatically that you feel like you're one move away from going over the top. You lost Breece Hall. You lost Elijah Vera Tucker. You have really nice pieces. You've drafted well outside of this position over the last few years. And so for me, it's not so much of when are we going to bench Zack Wilson for Mike White or Joe Flacco or whatever. It's, can you take the remaining however many weeks we have left in the season to evaluate what Zack Wilson is, and at that point, make a decision? Because you do have a roster next year that I do think, if certain guys blossom the way that I think that they're going to, you could be a sneaky team if you get that quarterback situation right. So for me, it's not so much what it's going to be this season. It's, is Wilson going to show you anything? And there have been flashes. I mean, he can throw a pretty nice ball when he gets everything right. It's just when those things are right are few and far between. And when he's bad, he's really bad. So for me, that's what you're looking at. Is he going to be your guy going forward? Or are you in this, drafting a guy, or are you going to maybe get a retread like we've seen the Indianapolis Colts or even the Commanders do over the last few years? I almost think that might be a good move for this team, how this roster is currently constructed.
It's interesting because reading Costello's piece too, it's like the season was supposed to be about a young Jets team growing and progressing. This is basically what we're saying too, with an eye on 2023. Things changed though over the past month with the Jets winning 4 games in a row and getting off to a 5-2 start. Suddenly it became clear the Jets might have to wait until 2023 to contend for the playoffs. They could do it now. You can say the Jets are ahead of schedule, except at one position, the most important position, obviously quarterback. And it feels like they are on different timelines, he writes. So that may be true. Like, I don't disagree with that. Actually, I'm going to push back on it a little bit. If the Jets are accidentally ahead of schedule, like if the Jets accidentally got ahead of their own schedule and did it kind of through smoke and mirrors, like, the Browns, they shouldn't have beaten the Browns. Like that is a once in 20-year victory. If just because you suddenly find yourself in a playoff race that is very, very muddled does not mean that you are like, you're not better than you thought you were.
Yeah.
It's people are just worse than you expected. And you got a backup quarterback against them. Like you got like this run of backup quarterbacks. The Packers game is probably the one that is really throwing things off. Cause it's like, if we can go in Green Bay and beat the Packers, we can beat anyone.
Yeah.
Turns out the Packers are terrible. So I think that's kind of the problem is you cannot abandon your plan because you accidentally fast forwarded your team growth ahead of where you thought your quarterback would be growing. Like, you drafted this guy second overall knowing that he had incredible physical traits, but like has maybe some what were called Favrean or even Mahomesian decisions in college. Like I'm willing to press it, willing to be aggressive. And I read the quote last night Rich Cimini had where Zack Wilson's like, I just get tired of rolling out like getting out there and there's no one open, and I just feel like I got to throw it. He's like, I'm tired of taking the checkdowns. Well, that's part of his growth. Like, you have to teach him to play quarterback and how to not take chances like that. And if you do that, if you can change that, like, that's their job to fix that for Zack Wilson. And if they can't fix that, then it's either is it a Zack Wilson problem, or is it a coaching problem? Right? Because it has to be one of the two.
Right. And so I guess that's part of it as well. I mean, obviously the coaching needs to develop the player, especially when we kind of knew he was going to be a raw guy coming into the league. It's not like he was a bona fide Trevor Lawrence, what we thought, to be established, polished, going to come in and compete right away. There was some level of development that you need to do. At the same time, though, I just do get a little worried about, it's at a certain point, these things do need to start clicking, though. I mean,
Sure.
I'm seeing it here in New England as well with Mac Jones. It just doesn't feel like it's clicking at all, really. And so with Wilson, you can throw away some of the decision makings and say, he's a young guy developing, but you can't completely revamp the quarterback. Like, I know what you're saying, like he's getting tired of going with the checkdowns and stuff like that.
You can't go to El Rodeo and order dinner and then be mad that you didn't get spaghetti.
Yeah.
Like, you bought what you bought. You ordered the dish, my man.